Shi?
Here.
Mr. Errico?
Here.
Mrs. Ward?
Here.
Mrs. Peng?
Here.
Mr. Brescher?
Here.
Mr. Patel?
Here.
Mrs. Conway?
Here.
Dr. Chen?
Here.
All present by Mrs. Maroney.
Is the light on?
Opening statement, the New Jersey Open Public Act, the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, Edison Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Board of Education administrative offices. Copies of these notices were sent to the Home News Tribune and Star Ledger on January 3rd, 2019. The public may participate at regular meetings in accordance with the bylaws and the applicable state regulations. So first up, we have the approval of the February 25th minutes and the board secretary report. Can I have a motion on that? Okay. Mr. Errico, Mrs. Conway.
Dr. Chen?
Yes.
Mrs. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Patel?
Yes.
Mr. Brescher?
Yes.
Mrs. Peng?
Yes.
Mrs. Ward?
Yes.
Mr. Errico?
Yes.
Mr. Shi?
Yes.
All yes.
So before we actually get into the resolution section, we're going to invite Jean from SSP to give us a summary of what she has done with the long-range facility plan. So. By the way, she had a presentation, at the board office a couple of weeks back, and it was recorded, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Good evening. Jean Parentoni, SSP Architects. As the board is aware, we've been charged with taking what we're considering the top 6 priority projects to the next level of development in terms of submitting, preparing packages for potential submission to the Department of Education. And I just wanted to report that we are keeping to what we had outlined as our scheduled steps and integral component parts of this process. Over the last 2 weeks, we've met at all the schools, in fact, what was orchestrated for us with the help of the administration staff is not only meeting again with the principals and the head facilities people, but we're able to actually also have brought in supervisors, teachers of the critical areas that were being touched, either renovated or new construction, and have a very concentrated, we spent a whole day at Edison High School, a whole day at J.P. Stevens, and half days at all the other elementary and middle and John Adams Middle School as a way to really double check what was proposed in the master plan to make sure that we're putting the spaces that should be renovated in the right place, we're doing the right scope. And I just wanted to give a verbal report on some of the things that we're doing, because part of our charge is obviously to develop the real cost for this in terms of establishing budgets. So as we're developing and going from bubble diagrams into the next level of detailed drawings, which include 1/8 inch, 16th inch furniture layouts and preparation of educational specifications, we're also trying to make sure that we can consolidate where we can with the new construction, as well as really define the areas of renovations. And so that's what we've been doing with each of the input of all the school staff for that component. At J.P. Stevens, one of the things that we have looked at and we're proposing is to actually have a very concentrated 3-story addition of pure classrooms that would work with stairs as well as the elevator, as a way to consolidate the footprint. This is a site that has the most wetlands and flood hazard areas, as well as still have a 2-story component that would include the big gym spaces, the media center, and some classrooms with that. This can lend itself towards off-site construction. In other words, that 3-story classroom wing could be something that is being done at the same time the stick-built things are being done, as a way to consolidate both the speed of the construction as well as potentially really holding the prices down to really basic components with that. So that's an example of what we're trying to do. The other side is we went to the programming people and asked them in terms of their input, and then particularly the science staff was consulted, because we had shown in our master plan a combination of science labs as well as some science classrooms. The science department elected unanimously to build the most number of science labs as opposed to classrooms. So the new addition will be showing a 4/4 or 8 new science labs at J.P. Stevens as opposed to the 6 labs and 2 classrooms. So we switched that around to make it more conducive for the hands-on science. All the science labs are actually going to be biology and chemistry because that's the greatest need, and some of their existing classrooms can easily be converted for physics or integrated science or general science, where what they need for the new construction to be is that concentrated component. And I mentioned this as a way to show you the process. So this is what we're in terms of really dotting the I and finalizing the scope of work, which then allows us to establish that final budget. The one component that was added onto the project that really came to our attention during this phase was the refurbishments needed at the existing main gym at J.P. Stevens. In particularly the flooring, the equipment, bleachers, and those components are really not up to par for that to continue to serve as its main gymnasium. So that's going to be folded into the referendum project. We also finalized where offices need to be and came up with a new place for relocating the nurse. As opposed to in the new addition, it's going to be directly opposite the main office component, and we're developing that as part of it. So we've, again, worked with all the staff. We did a similar process at Edison High School in terms of, again, meeting with all the media specialists to find out what they needed in the media center. There, in particular, the input was to make sure that we had a separation of the corridor along the perimeter and really a consolidated footprint for the new media center, along with the media center classroom and some breakout areas. So that was a very lively and good discussion with that. The science labs there, they're having 6 science labs, and they're electing to have 1 new physics classroom, so that's their need, as well as 4 biochem and 1 integrated science, again, to complement what was done at the 2 schools. We also had a very good review. In addition to meeting, we were actually walking the sites again to look at the spaces, and we really fine-tuned the amount of square foot that we need to touch and renovate, because we found that we were able to basically do some of the expansions on the guidance and the child study team in spaces that exist right now. One is where the dance is being relocated out, can be expansion for child study team. The nurse can be expanded into what is currently being used as an AD office, because the AD office can be moved into the new construction. So a series of domino components that were happening. With the 3 elementary schools, Lincoln, Madison, and Marshall School, for the most part, the scope of the work has not changed very much, but we're able to dive in a little deeper to label up which offices, which will be child study teams, which are in addition to the general purpose classrooms that we're showing on the plan, in the original plan. And the same thing with Adams. In Adams School, we have the 2-story addition, which is essentially a combination of classrooms and some science labs. We identified how that addition will be working, as well as the big design decision on that was figuring out how the gymnasium would be expanded. And it was elected to actually expand it with an auxiliary gym that would be essentially in the front of the school to get the most square footage as a full-size station for PE. So my purpose was really just to give you a kind of a brief snapshot of some of the modifications, all done to really make it be the highest, most efficient, best use of the spaces, as well as the budget that will be developed for it. And then just to signal on what our next steps are. This coming week, we'll be doing a lot of surveying, so our crews will be out to really fine-tune and get the final measurements, in particular of those renovated spaces. The following week, the first week of April, that's when it's going to be heavy educational specifications. We have outlines started with that, and that's something that I'll be really leading the charge on. And once we have those written documents and components, and I've been getting a lot of feedback from the principals. Some of the staff came in with diagrams and indications of how they want layouts and other components. Then from that, with that information, we'll be able to have our second round of meetings with the administration, with the ed specs in hand, with the diagrams, with the furniture layouts, in order to get the buy-in. And at that point, we'll have our rough numbers in terms of rough budget numbers that will be fine-tuning with their input for that. So we're pretty much on track for continuing our work through April. We targeted in our plan that we'd be outreaching to the planning board, since at some point we'd like to present to the planning board in terms of what the plans are, and that we're still targeting for either the end of April or the beginning of May, as it works out with the administration taking the lead in the context with that. And then obviously coming back to the board with full presentation, with all the components, because the board will then have a vote to authorize submission based on what the decisions that they have to make at that point. So.
Okay, thank you. Now we're gonna open up for public comments, but I like to, two things I wanna make a slight change. One is in the administration section, is NJSBA membership resolution, we wanna table that. Okay, so that is being tabled today. And also in the curriculum instruction, there's a grouping policy, revised policy, and presentation. We're gonna put it at the end. Okay, so you will have your chance to comment on the grouping policies, but we have other things that let's just go through that first. Then we'll have a presentation, then you can comment on that on the grouping policy. Okay, so otherwise it will be too long. So for now, resolutions only, comments for personnel and everything else on the agenda except the NJSBA and the grouping procedure. Anybody else has any comments for the resolutions? None?
Jerry,
Yes.
Are we voting on the procedure later?
What
or-
we're doing later. That's the last item.
Okay, so Jerry, about the calendar,
Yes.
are we settled for the agreed?
Well, let's see the public comments. If you have comments, we can do that. Yeah, I actually have comments on that too, so.
Carol Badowski, 39 Jonathan Drive. I've noticed the last few meetings, we seem to be hiring a lot of lawyers. And I certainly don't have any problem with Wilentz because they're no strangers. They were here for many years, I can remember. But my question about the appointment of bond counsel, I just do not understand that. Does that mean they will represent aspects of the borrowing of the money and the whole process of the bond, not the construction project? Is that correct?
If we don't pass, if the referendum is not passed, there's no bond.
Right,
They're
but
not coming-
Wilentz is not handling the whole,
No, they're not handling the construction.
they're just handling
Just a
the
bond
bond.
part, yes.
Right. The other thing that's kind of related, another one of the attorneys, is the superintendent consultant search. That does give an amount,
Yes.
basically 37,000.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that would include everything
Correct.
in the process, if anyone has to fly back and forth, or, I've read through their proposal and I know how it works, so I just was checking on that.
That's their fee.
That's their total fee for that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Anybody else? So I just want to have a comment on the calendar, because I did get a couple emails from the staff here. If you look at December 20th, it's a half day. But on June 16th, the day before the last day, it's not a half day. So, Mr. Saxon's here, he's not here, so I don't know how can we do this? Can we swap that? Put a half day for the 16th of June, and put a full day in on the 20th of December.
If the board makes a motion, somebody makes a motion to make that change, we can, and somebody seconds it, we can make
Okay,
it.
so let's be clear, yeah,
Yeah, let's look at the calendar.
does everyone have a calendar?
Yeah. So if you look at December 20th, we have a half day.
That's the wrong calendar.
Friday's a half day and Monday's a half day.
Yeah,
Correct?
yeah. So can we put Friday as a full day? Meanwhile, we'll put the June 16th as a half day.
Why is June 16th half day?
It's the day before the graduation.
Oh, June 16th.
Isn't the last
Gotcha,
3
gotcha.
days?
Oh, here we go, yes.
I'm sorry?
I got you.
used to be half days.
I'm sorry?
I thought
No,
the
they changed
last,
it, they changed it. So they have only 2 snow days, and so they move it from this day to this day,
Half day.
the ending
I know,
day.
but
And the
usually
20th
the
a
days
full day.
before are half
Yeah.
days at the end of the year, the last 3 days. And that wasn't done?
I don't know why. All right, okay, you want to say something? Yes.
Calendar, it's the last 2 days is usually a half day. So it would be the graduation day is a half day, the 16th would be a half day, And then in the back, we couldn't hear you. You were saying December the 20th is going to be a full day now?
Yes.
So the full day on the 20th, the 23rd is a half day, and the 16th and 17th in June are half days?
Yes, that's
Okay.
the proposal. I thought 17, you know, since the graduation's half day by default, but
Yeah,
I
it's
guess
it's always been a half
we have to
day.
mark it, yeah. Thank you. Are we okay with that? Do we have any concerns?
I just have a concern.
Yeah,
My concern is just on the 23rd of December. It's a single session, and that's the only time we're off that entire week. What is the attendance going to be like? Are we going to have a problem with that at all?
well, that has always been right before the holiday, we give them a half day off, so, I don't know, if anyone has any concerns?
Usually it's a half a day on December 24th.
Yeah, yeah.
You have to come to the mic.
If you want to say something, come to the mic.
Introduce yourself and then.
Name, address, and you can make your comments.
It just seems foolish to open up the school for half a day.
Then we gotta add a day.
Subodh Sharma, 63 Karen Place. So can we make Friday 20th as a full day and then compensate with the 23rd as a, like, take full off?
It doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't work out. We need 80 days, and then that's not.
It's really not a half day. It's called a single session, and it's counted as a whole day. It's
Okay.
just an early dismissal, but it counts as a whole day. But the 23rd would be considered a whole day also.
Okay.
I'm just concerned about.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to make the 20th a full day, and the 16th and 17th of June, 20th of December, 20th of December, a full day, and then the 16th and 17th of June of a half day. I make that motion.
Second that. Okay, Mrs. Maroney, second the motion.
Okay, so this is a vote to make the
Amend the
20th of
calendar.
December a full
Yeah.
day,
Yeah.
16th, 17th of June, half days.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Chen? Are you for the changes?
Yes.
Yes? Mrs. Conway?
I'm just questioning the viability of opening up for
You would have to add
that
another
shorter
day.
period of time.
You would have to,
Yeah,
no,
we'll
the
add
account,
another
you
day.
can't.
We can't, there's no way to add,
There's no way
because
to add
that's
a
the
day.
graduation is on the 17th, we're stuck. The Rutgers is only available 17th and 23rd.
It's up to you.
That's-
Vote no. Mrs. Conway? You're waiting for your
No.
vote.
All right.
Okay. Mr. Patel?
Yes.
Mr. Brescher?
Yes.
Whatever it is.
Mrs. Peng?
Yes.
Mrs. Maroney?
Yes.
Mrs. Ward?
Yes.
Mr. Erico?
Yes.
Mr. Shi?
Yes.
So carried.
23rd.
All right.
They're not going to come in on
So no more comments on the resolution, so let's just go through it. First, on the personnel, I always like to separate that out. On the personnel, do I have a motion to vote on the personnel? Okay, Mr. Erico, do I have a second? Okay, Mrs. Ward?
Dr. Chen?
Yes.
Mrs. Conway?
Yes.
Mrs. Patel?
Yes.
Mr. Brescher?
Yes.
Mrs. Peng?
Yes.
Ms. Maroney?
Yes.
Mrs. Ward?
Yes.
Mr. Erico?
Yes.
Mr. Shi?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
All right, so to save some time, let's just bundle everything together. So, move on, let's go to the resolution, appointment of bond counsel, the superintendent search firm, the RMI settlement agreement, National Autism Awareness Month, request for extended health benefits, the revised calendar, we just, changed it. On the curriculum, we're gonna vote on the NJSLA testing procedures. That's a replacement of PARC. And field trip, professional development approval documentation. On pupil services, we're gonna do out-of-district placement. And finance, we do the finance resolution. So everything on the agenda except NJSBA and the grouping procedure. Okay, we clear? All right, can I have a motion? Mrs. Maroney, second, or Mrs. Ward?
Dr. Chen?
Yes.
Mrs. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Patel?
Yes.
Mr. Brescher?
Yes.
Mrs. Peng?
Yes.
Mrs. Maroney?
Yes.
Mrs. Ward?
Yes.
Mr. Erico?
Yes.
Mr. Shi?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
All right, so now let's go on to the thing that everybody's here for, most of you guys. So the a grouping procedure. Debbie, will there be a presentation?
Thank you, Mr. Shea. I just have a few updates. As you stated at the board meeting on Wednesday, not all of the public has seen the revisions that we have proposed to everyone. So if I could describe them briefly, I hope that that will settle many of the concerns that have been brought up.
Speak a little bit slowly so they can absorb it.
Okay.
There's lots of information in here.
There is a lot of information. So we updated the grouping procedures based on the input of everyone who was here on Wednesday, in addition to emails, research, best practices, and past practices, and the goals of the board, so that we can include as many students in the honors program and the accelerated program as are ready for the rigorous challenge that are there. So it took a lot of work, and so in front of all of the board members are revised grouping procedures for the 2019-2020 school year, and I'll point out some highlights in a minute, as well as per the request of the Curriculum and Technology Committee, placement procedures, no more grouping procedures, but placement criteria that would stick and extend so that we don't have to approve grouping procedures annually. So in all of the conversations that we've had multiple conversations about what we want and what works, and in fact, what works for one family may not work for another family, and there's no easy answer to settle all of the concerns. So what we have in the grouping procedures that I do think you will see is a more positive capture of students, and really allows them to choose more of their passion rather than we don't want students to take 4 honors or no honors classes. We want students to enroll in honors classes based on their passion and their readiness. So we did a couple of things. First of all, anything that is related to grade 9 placement that's related to the PSAT 8-9 score has been, captures a wider group of students. So students who score 400 through 720 will earn points on the placement criteria, with the top number of points going for scores at 530 and above. The board has confidential information about how many students in each school that applies to, and I think you are comfortable with the fact, I hope that you are comfortable with the fact that that captures a wide percentage of our students in honors classes. It also captures a wide percentage of our students in accelerated classes, in fact, more than ever before. The other thing that we did, as per some of the requests from the parents and in multiple conversations with principals and supervisors, is there is a strong relationship between success in honors language arts and success in honors social studies, but we don't want students to have to enroll in both if that's the case. So we have more or statements in the criteria, so that if you have A's in social studies or A's in English, I'm sorry, A's in social studies or A's in science, and minimum criteria, that 530 or higher in the math and English, then you are eligible for the honors placement in both science and in social studies. And that allows us to not have to get straight A's in English in order to enroll in biology honors. And it also allows us to demonstrate in biology honors that we have a reading level that represents the top 15% of readers in the country. And so we know that you'll be able to handle the biology honors textbook, but despite the fact that it is very difficult and above grade level. Of course, once we post these, we will have more questions, and we will have individual students who may be disappointed by the fact because they also miss it. And as, you know, as representing the board and representing the district, we have to make the best decision for the entire program. And in making the best decision for the entire program, I take the whole child into account and know that when I'm not working on grouping procedures or when we're not hiring staff, I spend a lot of time figuring out what we can do to make sure that our students are not feeling too much pressure so that they can pursue their passions. And I definitely think that these grouping procedures do that. As committed to the Curriculum and Technology Committee, one of the things we wanted to do is, in addition to proposing 2019 grouping procedures and future placement criteria, which eliminates all points, we will use both in parallel during this spring, so that students who make it in with the points are in, and students who would have made it in with next year's placement criteria will also be in. Any questions from the board? Okay, thank you.
So
Should I stay?
yes, stay. Sorry.
That's okay.
So what your proposal is, based on the stuff that we received today, is so kids will be grouped based on this current criteria, and in June there will be new criteria.
We'll adopt that criteria. If you propose both tonight, both will go into effect immediately.
So what is that, because you mentioned that in June there will be a criteria that will reduce they will not have the point system, right? So the kids will be reevaluated with the new criteria.
Mm-hmm.
If they can make it with the new criteria, they will be moved in.
That's right.
To the new program.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have enough time?
We do have enough time. So we have everything online right now. So that's why I was able to answer your questions with every iteration or every question that came up. I just needed the 24 hours to go back to the drawing board and project what that might do, and that's why I have those numbers for you.
Okay.
So yes, so I think this will capture the students who want to be in honors classes, who absolutely will be successful. I don't want to put anyone in an honors class who believes they really will do well and hasn't experienced the kind of challenge that they'll experience there.
Yeah, we don't want we want the student to be challenged, but we
That's
don't
right.
want to push
Held
the
back.
students too hard so
That's right.
they get into more issues. But the problem is that because for me, I'm not on the CTC, so I don't have a lot of the details about these discussions. So for me, as a board member, I'm looking for direction from CTC. Unless the committee is ready to recommend that, I don't think I'm ready to vote on this.
Yeah, and I know we had very short time. We had very short time between Wednesday night and Monday. We had been working on things,
Yes.
like you said at the meeting. The public didn't even see what was proposed on Wednesday. And this, reflects more change. So, I mean, that will have to be a decision that you make.
Yeah, because for me, I'm looking for directions from our CTC, so I don't know if they're ready to recommend this to the board. Usually that the decision comes to the committee. So unless the decision comes from the committee, I am not going to vote for the revised grouping procedure. We need some time to digest, because I printed this out this afternoon. Yeah. I did look through it. As you can see, there's, this is all of them.
Yes, I see.
So, that's a lot. I don't know when you just shared with the parents how many of them they actually get it.
No, the parents do not have.
Yeah, so,
So how can
we do need some input from the parents as well, because that's what happened last time. So, this is just my point here. Any other? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say that, ever since the board has received a lot of emails and phone calls from the parents regarding to the grouping procedure that was approved in February, which is not really, it was approved with the board not being provided of complete, accurate information. And ever since then, I've heard so many concerns from the parent, and the committee has met with administrators multiple times, and teachers and parents. I can guarantee that your voice has been heard, and I just want to say a lot of people has been asking me if they were going to go back to the February procedure. Just want to make that clear, we're not, and I wanted to make a motion to rescind the February grouping procedure. And I would second that.
Okay. So there's a motion to rescind the procedure that was approved in February. Okay. So, Mrs. Penn and Mrs. Maroney.
All right.
So let's go around and.
Okay, this is a vote to rescind the.
If we vote yes, yes, I'm sorry.
Question, discussion.
Huh?
Discussion?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Quick question, when you talk about rescind, so we'll have no grouping procedure as of right now?
Correct.
So right now, we can't schedule any classes or anything like that?
That's right.
Okay.
Ralph, the third marking period grades has not been out yet,
So
so
we
we
can't do
need
anything
that.
anyway.
Right,
Okay.
anyway, yeah.
Got it, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you can have comments, yeah.
Do
No,
we
no,
rescind?
no, we'll rescind this, and then you can comment on the, yeah,
Okay, here's the vote for the rescission of February's grouping procedures.
yes.
Dr. Chen?
Yes.
Mrs. Conway?
Yes.
Mrs. Patel?
Yes.
Mr. Brescher?
Yes.
Mrs. Peng?
Yes.
Mrs. Maroney?
Yes.
Mrs. Ward?
Yes.
Ms. Derico?
Yes.
Mr. Shi?
Yes.
All yes.
So as of now, there's no grouping procedure. So, any comments on the grouping procedure that Deborah just mentioned? Yes?
Hi, my name is Kriti Mehta, and I'm from 22 Harding Avenue. All I want that going forward, if the teachers and the principals and the parents are informed about any procedures, any grouping, any criteria before the beginning of the school year and not in the middle of the school year, that will be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, anybody else?
Hi, I'm Monica Parikh, 25 Sonia Court. Just a request, is there any way that you can link this grouping criteria or anything that with Genesis kids account or anything that kids would know or parents would know in advance that this is the criteria for this year? Because we cannot come in each and every meeting. If you do any changes, we would know. We wouldn't know. So like if there is any way that you can put and we can just log in and check it at any time of the year.
So I think if the board is going to approve the procedure will be posted online.
Online.
And I think what we want to do is when it comes to June, we're going to rework the procedure, and that will be the procedure for the next school year. Is that correct, Deborah?
Yes.
So in June or July, you know, the next school year, it's the 2020 to 2021 will be available even before the school starts.
Okay, so there won't be any change in between for the whole year. Like this year you started like in February, you were planning to do changes, so
Yes, the grouping procedure in the past has always been putting out in February.
Okay.
Because certain things that, you know, we're not predicting, and we have to look at certain kids' scores and stuff, so that's
Okay.
coming into February. Moving forward, we heard a lot from the parents. Moving forward, we'll make the procedure much earlier, more transparent, so before the school starts, you will actually know, you know, what to look for when it comes to the grouping procedures.
Okay, and just one question more. In the new one, I don't know whether even you know or not, but is there like a teacher recommendation is also there or not? I just want to know.
There are some teacher recommendations, yes.
There is, like,
Yes.
I mean, okay.
Jerry, is there any way we can, like, put this somewhere so the parents can see it or give some handouts? Because I thought in the agenda it says it's being, okay, the documents to be distributed at the public meeting. The board has only received it a few hours ago, but I
Okay.
don't know if we have time to make some copies for the parents
All right.
so you can see. Yeah,
No, it's not
I don't have a
draft.
copy.
Thank
I don't have a hard copy either. I just got it, the email, through the
All right.
email, yeah.
Okay, all right, thank
But-
you.
Without this, we're gonna ask our, you know, chief academic officer, does she have any objections to that?
No, to just allow the public to see this document as it is. This is still a draft document?
So I have no objections. I've been following the procedures that have existed here for a long time, which is that the board has approved them and then they've been public. So I've been keeping with that procedure.
Yes, and that makes sense. It's not a final document until it's approved, and once it's a final document, then it's available for the public. But if the district wants to provide it now for reference and feedback, the district can do that. Just knowing that it's a draft, this is not a final document.
Yes. Yeah.
Hi,
Hi, good evening. My name is Dr. Shumali Dasgupta, and my address is 143 Woodbury Road in Edison. Actually, I have some concerns regarding the J.P. Stevens electives also in the high school. Because this year what happened, computer science was given only in 9th grade. But in the previous years, it was given in all the 4 grades. So what happens, kids who thought of taking computer science in 11th grade, they cannot take it now and they cannot take programming later. And programming is a recommended course for some of the engineering colleges, so which we were not informed at all before. So till last year, it was all the 4 years we could get computer science elective, but this year it was only 9th grade. And we were not informed at all about that.
Is this the first computer science class that you're supposed to take? You're talking about the
because
the beginner level class.
Beginner level, because last year till all the years it was 9, 10, 11, 12. But this year it was the first time it was only 9. So the students who were actually taking the other requisites like the for the visual arts or the financial literacy, they thought of taking computer a little later, but right now they cannot take it.
It's not even a choice, an option?
No, it's not now. It was till last year it was all the 4, but this year it's only 9th.
I remember last year we have the same question, the committee has the same question, and the answer we got is usually the higher grade students would have the priority to select this course, the specific course, because it's
but this year it is only on 9th. If you don't take in 9th, you are not going to get programming anymore, because programming is a prerequisite.
Yeah, it's a prerequisite.
Right, so we were not communicated that. So if you could just please look into this matter, that the kids can take computer science as an elective in, suppose, who are going to 10th or 11th, then they can have a chance of getting a computer and programming.
We'll look into it. Thank you.
Okay. And also, while looking at the placements, only request not only this year's final grade, if board can also look the previous year's final grade for subjects like science or social studies, I think that will give a the better idea how the kid performed in that subject.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Rashmi Batra, 8 Paris Avenue, Edison. First of all, thank you for not voting the placement criteria today and rescinding it, because there were genuine concerns from parents, so thanks for that. I understand it's rescinded, but I'm not clear on the timeline still. I understand in June we have to get it done. So what are the next steps from here onwards to get it approved so that we see it and are able to provide our feedback before it's approved?
The committee was hoping that we can get this done before next board meeting, so that will be April, because that's when we get the third marking period grades and the other assessment scores. And we have been, working very diligently with the administration on this, so hopefully we're going to have something that could address most of the concerns from the parents.
Thank you. And secondly, I just want to point out that, I know you mentioned that the goal is to get students to honors so that they are motivated and not disappointed. And the point is that some of the criteria that changed in the one that we just rescinded, it leads to that we are making it more hard, making it harder for the kids. I will only give a couple of examples. There are plenty in this document. One is for grades from 5th to 6th, when we are talking about STAR assessment. The STAR assessment for last time, it was 600 or higher gets 25 points. It drastically changed from 600 to 900. I don't know why. And we don't know why, right?
That was typo.
So, okay, so that's good to know. Yes. That's just one, and I do want to give another example. For example, moving from 8th to 9th grade, the science was changed, the grade was changed from A- to A. A- itself is 90% and above. Some teachers are strict, so it's hard to get even 90% and above. And A and A+, it's harder. So I just want to make sure that, next time when we are reviewing it, we just keep the goal in mind that kids who are 90 and above, maybe they are, or we club a couple of criteria that if they meet 2 out of 3, like add more and or conditions, that would be helpful. Thank you.
There are more ors in this version too. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anybody else? Yes, gentlemen, the back.
Prashant Joshi, 4 Utica Road, Edison. First of all, thank you for resending the whole thing, but I'm still not clear what the new proposal is. Is it what was presented on Wednesday and something, or what was presented on Wednesday? Because I'm lost.
It has changed since.
There's a new one sent to us this afternoon.
Okay,
and,
so does it consider PSAT only, or is that other option? Because one of my main concern was PSAT 8 and 9. And another question is, does it consider, even if somebody is not in a 9th grade going into not in honors in biology, does he or she has a choice to move to any other level for a physics and chemistry? Because earlier it was biology linked to chemistry, chemistry linked to physics.
That hasn't been changed.
Okay.
From the material the document that I received this afternoon.
Is this something committee is looking into it? Because there is a lot.
Yes, we will look into this. And the score, the math score for biology honor has been lowered to 530 instead of math honor. That was changed this afternoon in this afternoon's document.
Okay.
We will look into this because I think we need to give the parents some time. We need to give the board some time to go over this document for sure.
Absolutely.
And
if you
to
got
hear
it
the
afternoon, I
feedback.
get that one. Yeah, it's difficult. Okay. Any time when we will able to see? Any idea or no?
Well, so that's what we're talking about. You know, we either print this, and I was asking our chief academic officer if she had any objections. As long as the parents know this is draft version, I think we can share. Probably the best way is to share on the internet instead of giving you guys copies.
Absolutely.
So, but keep in mind, whatever we put it in there is a draft.
Maybe you can watermark it draft over there.
Yeah, so that's subject to change. It's, it's not final.
I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good evening. My name is Pradeep Samanta, 66 Kelly Drive, Edison, New Jersey. I just want to add the same point here. Actually, I think last Wednesday we discussed that PSAT was not communicated to the parents, even the school, middle school teachers, even board was not also aware about what I heard about it till end of the last year. So a lot of the kids actually not ready, and it was just they take it as a practice test. And that we noticed that once this placement criteria came, and a lot of the good kids, like including my kid, who is last 3 years in math honors, everything, all the good grade, science is he has a science is A+, he has a English is A minus, but because of the PSAT, all the criteria whatever received, he cannot make it. So I don't know where is the justification. I know the revision can be better. Just want to add one point on that. When you look at the PSAT, especially when the PSAT was sent on end of the year, and was nobody aware about that, what will be the criteria? Teacher was not very clear what will be the criteria for that. If you look at the high school student, when they go for SAT, I think most of the high school students, they at least take 2 or 3 times SAT exam, and before they take the best score to go to the selected subject or go to the college. But here, this year, last year, we just not properly communicated. We just give them one chance for the practice test, a PSAT, and based on them, we are just telling, okay, you get honors or not. I think this is not correct or fair. So that's my request to you to look at I think the PSAT criteria, or including for selecting the honors, should be revisited, and that's my request.
Okay, thank you. Yes, in the back.
Hi, I'm Samik Mehta from 22 Harding Avenue. I'm a senior at JP Stevens, and I'd like to request that English criteria be taken away from science honors because there is no correlation And I can tell you from personal experience, there is no correlation between English scores and your English grades and how well you do in science classes. One of my best friends, he's level 1 with me, all-time English. We're not the best at English, probably lower half, but he still got a 5 on his AP Physics exam. And in biology, he had an A-. It does not correlate, and I would say that you should remove the requirements of English for biology or chemistry honors or any science class.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else on the grouping procedure? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Bansi Mathur. I'm from 1 Lombardy Street. My question is completely different from everybody else here. This year you dropped accelerated maths from 7th grade. I would like to know what is the great idea behind it. Because you dropped that in 6th grade as well last year, which was not so welcome, but it was okay change because still our kids are still transitioning from their elementary school to middle school. So it was okay that they're not stressed out and they are just 2 levels. But 7th grade, I don't agree with it. It is not a great idea. You are not challenging few students enough to perform, and for some people it's going to be really challenging. And it's going to not be helpful for them when they're going to high school. So first of all, why did you drop it?
What's the second question? We'll answer it one time.
No. First question and then the second question.
Well,
We need the academic officer to answer, so.
Yeah.
It's easier if you list your questions and she can answer them all.
That's right.
I have to ask her?
No, if you just list all your questions, then she can answer them all. And
I did, but I did not receive the email back, so that's the reason I came here today. I thought that she is really busy going around with this placement criteria, things that are going around for high school, so I thought it is good to come here and ask the question myself. Second of all, if you decided to do an algebraic assessment or algebra readiness assessment, that should have been told to us right in the beginning, or at least halfway through, not just 2 weeks before the exam. And to my surprise, some people were aware of that exam and some people were completely clueless. So how is it fair between one student to the other student who were prepared or who were not prepared? Algebra is not something like a critical thinking that you can just toss a question and let the student answer. It's something that you need to be at least taught some level of it. My son just started algebra, just started the first pre-algebra unit just now, after he gave the test. So is it fair that you're testing students for something that they have not even been taught in the school?
Any other questions?
If you are putting this thing together again, if you are working on it, why can you not put the 3rd level of maths again in 7th grade as well? Okay. I think you can at least consider it.
Okay. All right.
So the school district is required to teach grade level skills to all students, and the 6th and 7th grade math curriculum is more rigorous than ever before. And so what we found is the difference between the level 2 classes and the level 1 classes, we were making those decisions very early, and that's why we collapsed the 6th grade to 1 level. We've taken the students that are in other words, are already thinking algebraically, and those students are included in pre-algebra honors in 6th grade. We've watched the information all year, and it seems that all 6th graders are doing as well, if not better, than the year before. We give the algebra readiness assessment at 6th grade. It is intentionally a cold, unannounced readiness assessment. It is not an algebra test, but what we want to see is some students start seeing things algebraically before they're even taught. We don't want to hold those students back, and we want to make sure that we capture them coming out of 6th grade so that we can place them into Algebra 1. But every student that isn't ready for Algebra 1 is required to learn pre-algebra at the 7th grade level, and we're keeping that course as rigorous as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Padmaja Chinta from 4102 Springbrook Drive. First of all, thank you to all the board members and the Chief Academic Officer for investing so much time and energy trying to come up with a better placement rubric. Appreciate it. And also thank you for not voting on it today, so we can all have a chance to digest it. I know this is premature since we have not seen what the new rubric is, but since we're here, I want to ask a couple of questions. Is the PSAT for math, has it been lowered from 600 to 530, both for math as well as for English?
No, for math honor, it's still 600.
Okay, but for biology honors,
it was lowered to 530.
530, okay.
Yes.
And are the assessment tests, the writing assessment and performance tests for math and English, are they still part of the criteria for placement?
Yes.
Okay, so may I request the board to please consider removing both of those, both the math performance test as well as the English writing assessment as criteria for two reasons. One, they are already considered as part of the regular grade for the subject, so you would be counting it twice by making it as a standalone criteria in the placement rubric. And second, even though they're called district-wide assessments or performance, they're not really standardized. The test, for example, for math is given on paper, and it is graded by teachers, not by computers, so it is subjective. So I would request at least the board consider removing those. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Varsha Chopra, 370 Westgate Drive. Thank you to the board for looking into the matter concerning us and our children. My first question is, according to the point system, the math rubric requires 85 points to get into honors, and even for English it's 85. So I don't see how can English and math be the same, like 85 points, because English being a subjective subject, it has to be, I think, according to me, it has to be a lower point system there. And the other, for accelerated, is it 60 or 70, according to the rubric?
It's 60.
It's 60?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Parimala Nagarajan from 92 Calvert Avenue East. My daughter just finished graduated from JP last year, and during her time, the criteria was not point-based system. It was more like a criteria where you satisfy certain criteria and get into honors. Why? I would like to know, why is that changed now? Why is point-based system came into the picture? I don't know, it changed. I mean, I wasn't looking at when it was changed, but it just changed over the period of 4 years, I think. So I would like to know if you guys can shed some light why it was changed, why it's changed to a point-based system instead of a criteria-based system. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Address? Huh? I know that. All right, you want to address that? Thank you. You should sit as first row. It's good exercise.
So the board has had a goal in the last 4 years to increase access, to make sure that we included as many students as possible. In doing that, we are also required to use multiple measures, and at the time, there weren't as many measures available. So my understanding in all of the conversations I've had with the supervisors is this point system was put in so that students who did really well in class and students who did really well on standardized tests and students whose teachers saw something in them all would have equal weights, so that we weren't just requiring that you had to do well on all of those different things and meet them. So that's why we did. As we've done this, as you know, as we've discussed in the Curriculum Technology Committee over the past couple of weeks, it has become a very complicated system and very difficult for parents to see. And I agree that the delay, the February approval, which has been the process, and now we're still not approval, is also part of the problem. And I would encourage you that no matter what we share, there will be some people who are not happy with it and who will still want a change. And at this point, I think knowing what's out there, especially considering how many suggestions we've captured in this particular document, is a better choice than delaying another month. But those are my best answers.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Yes?
Sorry, Padmaja Chinta, 4102 Springbrook Drive. I forgot. So under the new revised criteria, PSAT math must be 600 to qualify for geometry honors. Okay, so I guess I want to highlight some context so we can understand this issue a little better. And please correct me if I'm wrong. The rubric for geometry honors only applies to kids in Algebra 1. Whether they're in accelerated or in regular level, because kids who are already in honors in 8th grade, they're taking geometry, so they'll go directly to Algebra 2 in 9th grade. So the geometry kids don't really come into the picture for the placement rubric. Yet, when we are taking the PSAT score benchmark of 600, we are counting those geometry honors kids, because everyone takes PSAT, whether you're taking geometry or Algebra 1. So in one sense, in some sense, we're using the performance of the geometry kids to determine the placement for Algebra 1 kids. I mean, if we think that PSAT 600 score represents maybe 24% of the top 24%, it's a bit misleading because most of the 24% is really made up of the geometry kids. So I think that's not fair. A fair way would be to remove those geometry kits from the PSAT scores chart. I don't know how you would go about doing that or if that's possible. But if it's not possible, maybe I would suggest looking at including more kids beyond the 34%, top 24%, so that you truly capture the top 10 to 20% of Algebra 1 kids, not all the kids, including the geometry kids. I hope that was clear, and I hope that the board would consider it. Thank you.
I totally understand your concern. Yeah, basically you're saying the kids that's above 600 are composed mostly of the geometry honor class kids already, and when they move to 9th grade, those are moving to Algebra 2, and we might end up with very few kids actually moving to geometry honor.
Exactly.
That class size may be very small because we're raising the bar and most of the kids are already moving up. So I have asked that question before, but I haven't got any answer yet. I also wanted to see how big that class is going to be, because we don't want to have a class with only 20 kids in it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Oh, yes, okay, sorry.
Subodh Sharma, 63 Karen Place. So I just want to add on to the PSAT 8-9 thing, that how it is not fair for the kids who were in accelerated is because this test was taken in the marking period 1, and most of the curriculum or the syllabus for PSAT 8-9 covered geometry, which these kids were not taught at all, or the parts that were supposed to be taught in 8th grade for the rest of the session. So the thing is, you're not making it fair, and since it was not communicated before, it was not told, there was no time for them to prepare before, right? So it's a common, this is the common theme that we are saying, that just not because, these kids were not given, just 1 month time, you're not even given the curriculum to go through that, right? So basically, they have no chance. The accelerated kids had very little chance to go to honors, and if that's what we are saying, then, my kid's future was decided during the elementary. Basically, that's what I'm saying, right? So.
No, your kid's future was never decided elementary.
No, but at least for the honors, right? For this one. It seems like they cannot go, they cannot go to honors. If they were given a proper chance, a notice, I think they could have accelerated. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. More? Okay, come.
Hello everybody, my name is Paulmi Chakraborty. I'm from 3 Hayes Street, Edison. I've just a question that are they still linking the STAR subjects? Is in math related to English back again? Are they having that, is it still working like that? Is math related to English and science? Or
Yes.
they are looking into it?
The document we received this afternoon still have math.
Math is related?
As a requirement to biology.
Math is required for biology. How about English?
Yes.
Is that required
That's
for
too,
biology?
that too.
Okay, one thing if like one of my friend's kid has got PACT is 520. Okay, the day she took the test, she was not that well. She came and she took the test, whatever. But in her classes, her performance is A grade. She is missing only for 3 points if the writing assessment will. She is keeping the hope that if the writing assessment is with 90, between 90 and 100, and if she scores, because in her writing assessment, she said, okay, I have one score is 89, my other score is 90. So if she is keeping a hope, she's crossing her fingers that if that writing assessment is still on, and if she scores a 90, she will get a 5 points, and there she's up there. So is there any hope for that kid? Is there any way out? Because her parent, when her mom is not here, she's sick, she's not here. She told me, is there any hope for that kid? Is there any way out? Because when she went and spoke to the teacher said she's a A-grade student, I don't have any complaints and whatever. But is there any hope for that kid? That she will not make into science honors? Because she's a A-grade science student too.
There's always hope.
There's always a hope?
We are going to work on this. That's what I mentioned before, that this point system is really not a fair system. I understand you have to cut a line somewhere, but this point system is basically saying that one score difference is going to be making 20 times bigger gap in the final rubric, which is I don't think it's by no means it's going to be fair. That's why we are working very hard to try to.
But if the kid loses for 3 points, that's really not working like that, right? And the kids are keeping hope on you guys. Kids are saying, oh, I can keep at least some hope I can get in. So please, if you're dealing the subjects, that will be great. At least even she will get into the science honors.
All right, thank you.
I think we beat a dead horse.
All right. No, you got to talk to you can't stop.
You can't stop. Have a night with the curriculum committee or something. Did we hear that same?
Hi, good evening, everybody, and thank you so much to Deborah and the board members for taking into consideration our concerns. And we do look forward to reading the document. I do wanted to know, I think the teacher's recommendation is still part of the game. If that is so, there are 2 questions that I have. How do we decide if the recommendations by the teacher is on a positive note or it is not? And second, most students, including my own son, has a lot of substitute teachers for a longer period of time, especially when the teachers are on maternity leave and so on. How do we even consider for substitute teachers' recommendations as a fair recommendations? And we would really want to see how that will play into the overall grouping and placement criteria. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Hello, I'm Radha Ikbore. I'm from 114 Calvert Avenue East. Thank you again, board members, for resending this vote on for rescinding the criteria change. So basically, I was born and raised in this country, and I'm a New Jersey native, and I've been a New Jersey resident since birth. And I have a lot of pleasant memories of my education. And I was able to take a lot of challenging classes and have inspirational teachers. And at the same time, I was able to participate in many extracurricular activities, like drama, chorus, and various sports. And I would like my children to have similar educational experience because I think it'll enable them to succeed in any environment. We already have a very competitive atmosphere, and these criteria changes raise an already high bar even higher. And I fear that, this will stifle their creativity and ability to express themselves freely. They'll all be striving to achieve that high score to meet this very high bar, like we've heard from many parents. And instead, they should have a well-rounded development, because that's really one of the best things about American education, and we don't want to lose it. So, I already sent an email detailing some criteria changes from last year, and you've heard some other parents obviously mention it. The STAR criteria that Mr. Jerry said that was a typo. I hope there are many other typos. I didn't hear Ms. Deborah mention any changes from 5th to 6th grade. Just a couple things, there were no points given to C's that they were given before, and the writing assessment criteria were changed. So I hope you take all these thoughts into consideration when you revise the criteria. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Priya Godbole, 1 Timber Road. I have one question actually. In PSAT, many kids, it is about the shading. When they answer the question, they did wrong shading for the first time, and then they realized that was not the right answer, and they shaded the second one and tried to erase it. And that took us 2 answers, and eventually that question got wrong. And I'm sure many kids must have done it. Wondering, is there any way we can recheck that question and get those marks, just for students who will be missing some points?
That's not administered by the district.
That's what? Sorry?
It's not district test.
It's not a district test.
Okay. So but the answer is right. It's just the wrong shading is not erased properly, or the computer didn't took it that way. And secondly, I want to back what she said about the honors 600, where a lot of accelerated kids will be missing that. And thank you, Shannon, for following that question. Many kids will be benefited by that. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Yep. Yes, ma'am. Front.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Dimple. I'm from 461 Grove Avenue. My son is in J.P. Stephen High School, and they're already overworked. They start their day sometimes 5. The bus comes at 6:30, and he's into all honors courses, and they're always stressed, and they're working hard. They're working hard to improve their grades and stuff like that. But I have one question as to, when you look into the courses that are being offered, and you look into the STEM academies, the different academies, the biological academies, the AP courses are being offered at a 10th grade level, whereas J.P. Stevens, it's 11 and after. So how do you think our children will fare well when they apply to college board's admission process? Because they're going to look at how, what challenging courses they've taken. And they're already honest students, they're working hard, but why is it that J.P. Stevens doesn't want to offer AP courses at 10th grade level on? I mean, this, in a way, this actually, makes students and parents believe that, those other schools are superior than J.P. Stevens. So I don't know if I'm wrong in thinking that, but, it would be nice if you could clarify that.
I think you're wrong, okay? We have honor courses, that's very challenging. When you want to challenge a child, it's not by how many AP courses you take. It's how the rigorous the curriculum is. So I think, if you can take a JP, the curriculum, and go out, compete with any of the top schools in New Jersey, we are at the par level. So, do not go out by counting out how many courses your child taken in the high school. That's your criteria for being challenged, for being excellent student. That's not the way to do it.
Right, but when everything is standardized, when they go and apply for colleges, the colleges probably are going to look at what type of courses that, a student has challenged himself on, and if the number of AP courses coming from those schools is more than the number of AP courses that they can take here or given here. And I also understand that there is a limit of 37 credits at the max that they can take. So even though they won't be able to challenge themselves to take more AP courses because they've already hit that 37 credit requirement that they needed.
If I remember correct, we have 18 AP courses. Is that correct? More than that. Okay. Well, how many? 23. Okay, 23 AP courses.
Right.
How can you take 23 AP courses?
No, I'm not talking.
You take all the 23 AP courses. So, again, I just want to reiterate, chasing the number of AP courses is not the way to go, right? If you want the child to be developed as a holistic child, go into the band program, go into the concert program, go into the orchestra program, the arts, those kind of stuff, not only on the AP courses. Let's just get away from counting number of AP courses. That's not the way to go.
Well, I do understand.
The other example I can give you is my children, they didn't take all the AP courses. Both my kids, they're doing perfectly fine. They did not maximize their AP courses. They're way below.
Right, I do understand that. But
Yeah.
if let's say, for example, biology honors is offered in 9th grade, and then comes the physics or chemistry in that order. Now, then the progressive movement is after that, after you complete these three, then you get to take the AP course, and they're already in 12th grade at that time, and they can only take one, either in biology or either in physics. So they're not going to be, if children are challenged in a way the education system is today, and these children are high-performing kids and they want to perform good and they want to look good on their resume. So, sadly, this is how it is. But then when one school considers their course as AP, maybe JP should revise their honors as AP. I don't know. It's just a suggestion.
Well, but I tell you, the schools that actually, they know JP, they know how challenging JP the curriculum is. It doesn't really matter you call it AP, you call it honor.
I know.
They know that we have a very challenging curriculum. So that's why when JP kids goes out and apply for a lot of schools, they know. The JP, or not only JP, I'm sorry, Edison is the entire school system. Sorry, not JP. The entire school system, we have the same curriculum. The Edison kids, when we go out, the colleges know what kind of students they're getting.
I hope that's the case. But
that is the case.
But
that is
the
definitely the
progression,
case.
the image that is on the children these days is, it's different, and then they're completely stressed out. So that's something that I wanted to suggest.
The stress out is we should tell our kids do not chase the AP courses.
No, yeah.
Let them go to the other, non-STEM classes. Go to the others.
The stress is from the parents.
Yeah, we're putting too much stress on our kids. Right. Way too much.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Yes, go ahead.
Dr. Das Gupta from 143 Woodbury Road. My thing is that are we going to have any revised elective choices for the kids that where computer science will be added for other years or not?
We're going to look into it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, in the back.
Hello, Sharmila Chatterjee, 112 Monroe Avenue. I had this question last time as to when the revisions take place. How would we find out? We came for the meeting today, but we do not have any information, and then we have to wait until we get to see that. The next one is, it doesn't affect me, but the comment about on the cold exams. That
what exam? I'm sorry?
The cold exams. When the child doesn't know that the test
code
is
test.
take,
Okay, I'm sorry.
the
Okay,
code
yes,
test.
sorry.
The saying was that we want to find out how, if a child is thinking algebraically or not. I don't have a child in 6th grade, so this doesn't concern me that much, but as an example, I can say when my daughter was in 2nd grade, I teach her a little bit ahead, and then she had a test, and she comes home and says, Mama, they gave me a question with the this sign. So that's multiplication, which I had not taught. So if you are looking to see if a child is thinking multiplication, if you do not teach this sign, how would the child be able to answer the question? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, I
hope you're not coming here to tell me how many AP courses you took.
Oh, no, not at all. Hi, I'm Makan Ramakrishnan.
Yes.
I'm a junior at JP Stevens. So I just wanted to address some of the concerns our parents had from a student's point of view. And I'm personally in this boat because my sister is going from 8th grade to 9th grade. And she has many of the same questions that much of the parents in the audience today have. And I wanted to echo what Ms. Maroney said last Wednesday regarding biology. I took biology honors in 9th grade, and it was a really hard class. There was so much writing. The labs were monstrous, and the textbook was really hard to get through. And I really do applaud the board's decision to consider your English performance in determining whether somebody takes biology honors or not, because in the end, if you don't want to squelch a student's love for science, you need to make sure they understand the material. And there are so many opportunities to move up in high school. Personally, I moved up in 2 subjects, and once you're in high school, it's all about the grades in that subject and what your teacher thinks, how you perform in that subject. So it's a lot more linear, it's a lot more very easy to move up. And your teachers will place you in the highest possible class you can take. Many students move from biology level 1 to chemistry honors and do very well. So it's not the end of the world if your child or if my sister doesn't get into biology honors. And I just wanted to echo the Mr. Xi's notion of APs. Our AP program is outstanding, but our honors classes can be even harder than that. They can be even more thought-provoking and really helping students gain knowledge. We have 2 classes in English and math, which our teachers consider to be beyond AP. Applied Calculus and this new Rutgers class that's supposed to mirror Rutgers is XPOS. We have the best teachers in our school that teach those 2 classes, and those are beyond AP. And those are considered honors classes. Does that mean that they're less than AP? Does that mean you wouldn't take Applied Calculus because there's no AP on your transcript? No. You have to keep in mind that it's the learning process that matters the most. And I feel our parents should consider that a lot more deeply when they're thinking about all these APs that all these other schools have to offer. Our schools do an excellent job in educating us, and I'm so thankful that our board does so much work to make this better every single year. Thank you.
Right, thank you. I don't know how many AP courses he took, but he did a good job over here.
All right, so first of all, I'm sending you a big hug and a kiss. You are obviously an example of what we produce. How well-spoken you were, how heartfelt. I want to say something to the parents out here. Mr. Arco and I were talking. I think that please forgive me, parents, you're the ones putting the pressure on the kids. And it's because, I know why it is, and I'm sure I would be sitting with you were my daughter not already out in the real world. There is this sense that our kids are not going to get into college. That is not true. And you have to start understanding that. Our children, all of them, every one of them, even the ones in the lowest of the class, all can go to college. They're not all going to Harvard, but they're all going to good colleges. And I've had kids, former students, who didn't make it in college and went back as adults and have been sending me emails recently. I had them 40 years ago in class. They're now authors. I taught creative writing. And so, dear Mrs. Maroney, I haven't forgotten about you. Read this book that I wrote. We all get there. So I implore you, take a deep breath. Your kid's going to college.
Yes, sir.
Prashant Joshi, 4 Utica Road. The reason I had to come back because of the passionate conversation and speech given by the student, as well as Miss Brett. Sorry, I'm pronouncing your first name incorrectly probably. My daughter is a senior in this school, and my niece actually graduated and a teacher in this school. Okay, so I know how
teacher in our school?
Yes.
Oh.
Right, and so I know how this school operates. So, assuming that anybody coming over here just worried about the AP courses is not correct. That's from a November meeting, I came over here and I raised the issue about pre-SAT 8 and 9, how unfair and how wrongly it was done. The point is same, that how you conducted, how you did it was wrong, and there's ramifications, you are seeing it. Second thing is, so far everybody says, oh, you are not here, their linked subjects are there. I have seen for my daughter, I have seen for other cases also, that you linked certain things, and you do not get a chance. Yes, kid is bright, super bright, he gets a chance. And the last point, when you say, oh, everybody gets in college, yeah, you go to college, but which college and what kind of college is also important. My daughter just went through it, I know it. My niece went through it, my other friends went through it. So it's not that, oh, we just go to the college and it will work it out. No, it doesn't work it out that way. Your curriculum has to be strong, I agree with that. It has to be strong in a high school, middle school also, but high school definitely. But the way we are currently set up, that's what the problematic is. So take that in consideration. The whole issue started because how you linked 8 and 9, PSAT, and everybody sitting over here is complaining about that. And that's still the part of the criteria which is proposed. So take into look into that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else on the grouping policies? All right. See none? It is a resolution to be, on the agenda, but we already said this is a draft version anyway, so I don't think we're going to vote on it. So I would like to table this resolution here, and we're going to post this, whatever revised today, online, so we'll get a little bit input. Then we can, move on in next month. Hopefully, we'll approve it. Next meeting is the April 10th, so which is not too far away. I hope that's not going to put a lot of impact on the, arranging the schools and stuff, for the next school year. Just hold it up for a couple of weeks, get some additional input, and have the CTC go back and work with the administrations to see if there's anything that can be smoothed out, and we'll come back in April, right? So I'm gonna have a motion to table this resolution. Do I have a second? Okay, Mr. Erico.
Who was the first?
I am.
Oh, you were? Yes. Okay, is the vote to table the grouping procedures. Dr. Chen?
Yes.
Mrs. Conway?
Yes.
Mrs. Patel?
Yes.
Mr. Brescher?
Yes.
Mrs. Peng?
Yes.
Mrs. Maroney?
Yes.
Mrs. Ward?
Yes.
Mr. Erico?
Yes.
Mr. Shi?
Yes.
All yes.
All right. So,
Committee reports.
all right, we're gonna post it tomorrow. All right, so go online, check it out. So let's move on. The announcement of the next meeting, I just mentioned, our caucus meeting is April 10th. Our next public meeting will be April 15th. It will be at the Edison High School. All right, we have quite a lot of committee reports here. So first is the Community Relations Committee, Mrs. Maroney.
The Community Relations Committee met at 4 p.m. on March 12th in the Ed Center. In attendance were Beth Maroney, Ralph Erico, Elizabeth Conway, Paul Saxton, Daniel Michaud, Richard Pepe, and Gail Polakowski. Discussion. The committee discussed the formation of a steering committee which will be comprised of 4 Board of Ed members, representatives of each bargaining unit in the district, teachers, parents, and community members. The committee discussed how to run a positive grassroots publicity campaign to get the word out to Edison residents about how important the school additions are. A brief film will be created by the district videographer that will highlight particular needs to be addressed by the expansion plan. Influential members from the district and township will be asked to appear in the important film. The next meeting is scheduled for March 26, 2019 at 4 p.m. in the Ed Center. The meeting was adjourned at 5:24 p.m.
Thank you, Mr. Maroney. Next up, Finance Facility, Mr. Brescher.
We had a Finance and Facilities Committee meeting on 3/15/19 at 3 p.m. at the Education Center. In attendance, Jerry Shee, Teresa Ward, Richard Brescia, Una Chen, Paul Saxton, Dan Michaud, Rich Pepe, Ken Taylor, Deborah Gulick, Beninda Mahbir. We had Tom Rienzi, the district's roofing architect, review the bids from the roof bids that we sent out for the replacement on Martin Luther King, Washington School, Woodbrook, and Edison High Schools. The work is scheduled to be completed during the summer of 2019. Deborah Gulick and Belinda Mahbir discussed the proposed staffing increases and the proposed textbook purchases for 2019-2020 school year. The committee also reviewed and discussed the 2019-2020 proposed budget. The district centered around funding, expenditures, appropriations, staffing needs, and the tax impact. The board will be asked to approve the preliminary budget at the 3/25/19 public meeting. The preliminary budget was required to be submitted to the state no later than 3/20/19, and the meeting adjourned at 5:40 p.m.
Thank you. Next, Policy Committee. Mrs. Patel?
Did you miss food services?
Oh, I just saw this. Oh.
Yeah.
The food service, yeah, we'll come back to first service.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I go first?
Yeah, you go first, 'cause
Okay.
this was out here.
So the policy committee met on February 26th at the Ed Center. In attendance were myself, Richard Brescher, Teresa Ward, Dr. Chen, Paul Saxton, Daniel Mashad, Richard Pepe, Deborah Gulick, Patrick Kassain, Ramon Rivera, and Hope Blackburn. The committee reviewed the mandated policy revisions that were submitted by Strauss SMA, the district's policy update provider. The committee discussed the following specific policies: F1 visa enrollments, non-resident students, opioid antidotes, service animals in schools, homework, as it pertains to our district's policy on homework is something that I'm still working with Deborah on, and trying to come up with a better policy. Building use security as it pertains to visitors, PTAs, PTOs, and volunteers, Family Medical Leave Act, and the district's organizational chart. The meeting adjourned at 3:47 p.m.
Thank you. Now, Food Service Committee, Mrs. Conway.
Food Service Committee meeting was held on Wednesday, March 20th at 5 p.m. In attendance were Richard Brescher, Una Chen, Paul Saxton, Richard Pepe, Dan Mashad, myself, and 10 representatives from Chartwells. And there were also 37 representatives from all over the district, whether they be workers or teachers representatives. Chartwells showed a PowerPoint presentation which illustrated the company's initiatives to improve student participation, their focus on nutrition, the food preparation practices, and the techniques available to provide the students and staff various methods for ordering. Chartwells explained the Neutralize software that has been available online for several years, which allows parents to look up the nutritional values of the different food offerings and permits the parents the opportunity to view allergens that may affect their children. Discussions ensued regarding federal nutrition guidelines, federal and state financial obligations to the food service program. and Chartwell's $500,000 investment towards school service improvements and the guaranteed financial return to the district. The committee discussed the portion sizes, fat and sodium content, the lunches that the students prefer, and the lunches that are less favorable. And the meeting adjourned at 6:10.
Okay, thank you. Next up, the Security Committee meeting. So who's the chair on Security Committee? I forgot. Are you? Oh, Mr. Brescher?
Okay. We go back to it.
You want this?
Well, I think I got it right here. Okay, we had a security meeting on 3/18/19 at 5:30 p.m. at the Municipal Complex. In attendance, Jerry Shee, Richard Brescher, Paul Saxton, Dan Michaud, Patrick Hussain, Hope Blackburn, Mayor Lanke, Maureen Moraine, Melissa Pearlstein, Bill Northgrave, and Captain Joe Shannon. The Township and Board of Education representatives discussed a proposed interlocal security agreement which would provide armed SLEO 3 officers in the district school. The discussion centered around the number of officers needed, the entity that would be responsible for the different cost components of the agreement, and the administration of the operation. After coming to a consensus on the terms of the agreement, the township agreed to calculate the estimated cost of the agreement and notify the board. The township will present a revised security agreement to the town council at their next meeting, and upon approval, the board will approve it at their following board meeting. And the meeting was adjourned at 6:20 p.m.
Thank you. So next up, the Special Ed Committee, Mrs. Maroney.
The Special Ed Committee met for the first time on March 22nd at 1:30 p.m. In attendance, Beth Maroney, Elizabeth Conway, Dr. Yuna Chen, Falguni Patel, Christopher Conklin, and Paul Saxton. First up was the FDR addition, projected to house 6 additional preschool half-day classes, 1 full-day integrated class, 2 adult bathrooms, and a new teacher's lounge. The nurse's office will remain where it is currently. There will be a room for child study team and occupational and physical therapy. By the end of the school year 2019-20, we will be able to house 246 preschool students, which is more than double what we have at present. The access road at FDR, we want to build a road going behind the firehouse there that would take us directly to FDR. We are presently working on that with the township and architects. This is definitely being considered. Programs. Resource classes are being phased out. We are putting more of the resource students into inclusion classes because research shows that mainstream students do better socially, emotionally, and academically being with their general education peers. The curriculum for next year is basically staying the same. Most of our programs, such as the workplace transition, were updated recently. Inclusion classes adopt mainstream curriculum for special education students. Staffing needs for next year. Special education is asking for 3 more teachers, 6 paraprofessionals, and 1 nurse. Projections for staff are based on the number of students we have in class now. We currently have 24 district speech therapists. Contracted agencies, we will be rehiring Unified Therapy Solutions and Jump Ahead Pediatrics, which currently provide occupational and physical therapy and some speech services. We also contract out for one-on-one nurses. Currently, we use about 37 full-time therapists from these companies. Using these contracted agencies are cost-effective because in the beginning of the year, we need fewer instructors than we do as the year progresses. By using the outside vendors, we can add instructors on an as-needed basis. The Special Education Committee has agreed to meet again in September after the new school year.
The meeting adjourned at 3:00 p.m.
Thank you. All right, now move up. Board member, open discussions. Any board members? Yes, Mr. Maroney.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shi. A few things I wanted to tell you about. On Saturday, this past Saturday, I had the great honor of going to see Joey's program on the Lena Harris Foundation, where he has 9 J.P. Stevens students who are now completing their first session of 8 classes. And I have to tell you, Joseph, you're an incredible facilitator, and I think you should consider being a teacher even though you're thinking of being a lawyer. You have a way with kids that was really magical. Joe made a fabulous lesson plan. The kids were engaged for a full 2 hours. They had a speaker who talked to them about the importance of choosing a profession in which you're happy. It doesn't have to be your passion, but a profession that allows you the time to enjoy your life. And this was great advice. The kids had a terrific discussion on it. There were a lot of activities that were about communication skills, team building skills. It was just awesome. And the thing I was most impressed with was a lot of times we start programs like this, and you'll have 8 or 9 kids in the beginning, and by the end of the program, if you have 2 or 3, you're lucky. All of these kids are still going to the program, and they're going into their final week. And Joseph, I just really hope that you bring it to Edison High next year. This is a magnificent opportunity. Freshmen and sophomores, so they have a long way to go yet in their schooling, and it was just awesome. Also, let me model. Yeah, this is the brand new Menlo Park Wingman shirt, which we got this morning. We have now trained, Ellen Baxter, myself, and Ian Hockley, we have now trained the students at John Marshall, Monroe, Lincoln, JMI, which goes into JMP program, MLK, Ben Franklin, Woodbrook, Menlo, Herbert Hoover, and this afternoon I was over talking to the Bridges program, and we are going to, with the help of the Bridges kids, we're going to create a different kind of wingman program for high school students, which is more of a community outreach program. We've trained hundreds of kids. Our reception has been phenomenal. They are now teaching the younger students, and I can't thank the principals, the teacher champions, everybody who has been supportive of us in getting this going. I also want to add that Ian Hockley and I met with Patrick Kassan last Monday to talk about the importance of a social emotional program in creating a school security plan. And moving forward, we have decided to incorporate police as trusted adults that children can learn to go to in case of an emergency. So we're expanding, we're growing throughout the community, and again, thank you everyone for your support.
Thank you. Any other board members? Oh, yes, Mrs. Ward.
The Edison High School Dance Department will be having their inaugural dance concert on Friday, April 5th. The Dance Collective is a showcase of work by senior dancers and our director, Mrs. Vicki Jenkins. It begins at 6:30 and is approximately 45 minutes in length. Tickets are $8 and can be purchased at the door anytime after 5:45 p.m. Mrs. Jenkins and the students really appreciate your support. This is the second year of our dance program in Edison High School. Note also that Mrs. Jenkins, Maureen O'Connor, and Ramon Mosley Avilés were the directors of the music and dance for the last week's play, Curtains. It was a thoroughly enjoyable production and reflected much professionalism on the part of everyone. Still on the music topic, last weekend I visited a friend recently transferred to JFK Rehab, and we had the pleasure of a 1-hour afternoon concert by 5 of John Peter Stevens' orchestra students. The hospital spokesman told me that these students perform every Sunday for their patients, and their presence is very much appreciated, and their interaction with the students is commendable, particularly at holiday time. So I want to thank the boys and girls of John P. Stevens High School. You are, if you pardon the pun, the unsung heroes. You get no credits anywhere. You just go there every week and perform for these patients. And a heartwarming thing about when I was there was I was there with a woman patient who was a teacher for many moons in Edison Township and a supervisor and an administrator. And she is now a patient there. So it was very heartwarming for her to see students from our school system come into the facility to entertain them. So there's an additional plus for the JPC students. Thank you so much. It's a beautiful thing you do. Edison High School will be, yes, congratulations to them, absolutely. And they do it every week, and they're loved. Edison High School will be holding its annual outdoor spring craft and flea market on Saturday, April 13th. Both vendors and buyers are invited to participate. Contact the Edison High School ptso@gmail.com for more information. Please do not call the high school because they're not informed of the program. A 7th grader at Woodrow Wilson Middle School won first place at the Tri-County Spell Down Regional Spelling Bee held at Monmouth University last week. So a big shout out goes to, I hope you pronounce your name right, Navneet Mural, who endured what was possibly the longest bee in the history, in the events of the 35 history. So endurance counts in addition to being able to spell. Navneet won an all expense paid week of sightseeing in Washington, D.C., a first place trophy, and a subscription to an online Webster's Dictionary and encyclopedia. While in Washington, Navneet will compete in the Scripps National Spelling Bee. We wish you the very best, Navneet, wherever you are. Congratulations to you.
Yeah, we're gonna watch that. Hope he gets into, we're gonna watch that. Hope he gets into the finals. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's all, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. Any other board members? All right, now we open to public comments. Anyone from the public? Yes.
Susan Campione, 2 Ethel Road in Edison. First, I want to thank Mr. Shi for commenting on the teachers of Lindenau the other night. But as a para who has worked in the district for 16 years at 6 buildings, 4 on the north side and 2 on the south, I was very, very disturbed by the comments made at Wednesday's meeting by someone. I have worked at Lindenau now for 2 years, and I am up here to say that the teachers at Lindenau are the most hardworking, most caring, and most cooperative teachers that I have worked with over my 16 years. Teachers and staff at Lindenau are faced with challenges that other schools do not have. Mr. Brunner kept saying he wasn't picking on Lindenau's teachers, but that is exactly what he did. Instead of criticizing the staff and suggesting that all staff, if they were all changed, things might be different, and that should be tried for a year, maybe the suggestion should be to get more support into the school. No school in this district could use full-day kindergarten more. We have been stripped down to 2 paras when every class at that school could use support. We have no reading specialist, and we have had a parade of principals with no consistency for students or staff. 22 staff members are new to the building this year. We only have a staff of about 50 people, and some of them are part-time. The nurse and the guidance counselor do not have an empty office at any time in the day. We are teaching a rigorous curriculum while trying to nurture children that have issues that no other children in this district have. It is beyond insulting that Mr. Brummer thinks that the problems will be solved by shipping all of the teachers and staff across town. I'm proud to work at Lindenau School, and as a 16-year para, I can tell you that I have never felt that children have needed me more than in that building. The teachers work probably harder than any other teachers in this district. The diversity is different in that building, and there are other things that should be looked at and start to be done at the school. And maybe if Mr. Saxton would like to come in and speak to the teachers and listen to them and to get some suggestions, I'm sure that they could provide plenty of what can be done at that school to help the children, because that's what it's about. But to suggest that moving all those teachers is going to help the situation, I'm telling you it's not, and it was not fair.
Thank you. I agree with you. Mr. Saxon had a car problem, that's why he couldn't be here. Yeah. So, yes.
Good evening, board members. Janine Munez Hinterstein, 50 Blossom Street, Edison. I, too, wanted to address the experiment that was brought up at last meeting. And again, thank you, Mr. Shi, for commenting on how Edison teachers work and how hard Lindenau teachers work. Basically, I'm going to reiterate a lot of what Ms. Campione said, but you know, in this experiment, also, an Edison resident addressed an additional factor was the younger new principal, for which he used descriptors such as off the streets and off the boat. I think he was talking about our principal, Dr. Rojas, who comes from a Title I school, but I wasn't sure because when he arrives to work, he usually exits from a car. I come to you tonight with a less divisive plan, but first I think we should look at the data a little bit. There is a marked achievement gap in ELA and math test scores in Lindenau compared to the North End like Woodbrook. I was a teacher for 17 years at Thomas Jefferson Middle School, and this year I work at Lindenau and Woodbrook, so I have a really interesting panoramic view of the district. That said, there is a huge gap, and it is also important to note that all Edison teachers are trying very hard to teach within this gap. Could it be that Lindenau teachers have become complacent after too many years? Well, the data does show that the average years taught at Lindenau and in Woodbrook are about the same at 13.4 years of experience. It's also important to note that all Edison teachers are hired under the same rigorous criteria, train the same, teach the same curriculum, and are held to the same strict evaluation standards. So the question was, are the Lindenau demographics a strong enough factor to impact student achievement? Are we using it as an excuse? Well, the percentage of students who are economically disadvantaged at Lindenau is 10 times higher than that of Woodbrook. The percentage of students with disabilities at Lindenau is 7 times higher than that at Woodbrook. All teachers work equally hard towards student achievement, but the difference is at Lindenau we're putting our energies towards different aspects of student success. Additionally, that state data is not going to show you the numbers of how far Lindenau teachers have brought their students from their starting points. We don't blame demographics, but the data does show that one size does not fit all. So, back to the achievement gap, what can we do? And here's what I propose. Number one, please give us back our support staff. At Lindenau, we've gone from 8 paras last year to 2 this year. Our students who are below grade level respond best to small group instruction, and they need the extra support. Our students who are at or beyond grade level will also benefit because the teachers will be able to better serve the students in the classroom who require and need more rigor. Number 2, please give us better fitting behavioral interventions. I believe we need a more frequent behaviorist who could work regularly with our students who need support in managing their reactions in schools. Teachers are putting aside lessons to address emotional issues, and therefore we're not doing our job, which is to teach. And lastly, can we maybe more actively reach out to our families in the area to educate them on the availability of Head Start program, or maybe offer something for kindergarten readiness? Students are coming to us already behind due to the lack of resources in the formative years of birth to 6. This is then trickling down and increasing the achievement gap. I really hope you consider opening up this dialogue. It might not be about more money, but maybe like reallocation of funds, Title I money, I don't know. I know we all want what's best for our kids, and I do know we have a board that is listening to us. The question now becomes, can we work together to create the action steps to make it happen? I thank you so much for hearing us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I wrote these 3 items down. Unfortunately, that Mr. Saxton is not here. I will speak to him tomorrow. All right. So keep up whatever you guys doing. You guys doing, a good job over there.
We are. Hi. Good evening. Carrie Rinaldi, 2 Ethel Road. My name is Carrie Rinaldi. I am a teacher at the Edison School District. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I've worked in Edison since 2003, beginning my career at James Madison Primary, teaching 2nd grade, and then in 2015 I was transferred to Lindenau Elementary, proudly, obviously, where I teach 1st grade. So it doesn't matter what school I was teaching, I knew that the curriculum and what good teaching looked like and sounded like. Lindenau is a Title I school. Low-income students are determined by the number of students enrolled in the free and reduced lunch program. For an entire school to qualify for Title I fundings, they at least need 40%. At Lindenau, 51% of our students are enrolled in these programs. 30% of our students are qualified for special education. Our administrative staff, Dr. Rojas and Mrs. Dettelbach, encourage us, support us, and help us, students and staff, in all situations. The staff is the backbone of our school. We work as a team. That being said, the difference in demographics from Northside is not comparable. It is like comparing an apple to broccoli. Both nourishing, but fall into 2 different food categories. My school day consists of a variety of variables besides teaching. My students come in with little background knowledge, where the majority come from homes with English not being the predominant language. Our students are from families of all sorts. 2 parents, single parents, grandparents, 2 moms, 2 dads. We also have students who are in foster situations and non-traditional homes. We should seek to understand and value these experiences and build policies that reflect them. Most of my students have not eaten breakfast, and they usually get themselves dressed for school in the morning. 1st grade. I deal with educational needs as well as the emotional needs daily. To start the year, I have a class of non-readers. That is going reverse in the curriculum provided by an average 1st grader. In response to Mr. Brenner, I thank him for his suggestions. The highly qualified teachers of Lindenau are providing the best possible education they can to all of these students. Studies show that early intervention is key. We are a Title I school. Here are some suggestions. First suggestion, full day kindergarten, under Title I, under anything. Full day kindergarten, preschool. 2 guidance counselors, a K-2 guidance counselor, a 3-5 guidance counselor, to work on the social and emotional development. I can't tell you how many times during my day that I'm working on both education and emotional issues, daily. Come to our school. Our doors are open for anybody and anyone. I know Mr. Errico has been there many times. In closing, the staff at Lindenau come to work every day with a smile on our face. We work hard to teach the students not just the curriculum, but survival. There is a lot of work to do, and together we can all do it. So thank you for your time, and I appreciate any help to making the Lindenau students successful.
Okay, so we'll do what we can to provide help. Yeah, we already noticed the gap, so we definitely need to address that. Okay, anybody else? Yes, Joe.
Joseph Johnson, 407 Durham Avenue. On Saturday, April 23rd, 2019, during week 7 of the Lena Harris Foundation Mentorship Program, we were fortunate enough to have Miss Shauna Maroney Evans as a guest speaker. She spoke about never giving up and doing what you love to do. and how it is never too late to pursue your dreams. I would first like to thank Ms. Maroney for coming and attending the session, and anyone else who has helped out this far. The program has been a terrific success, and every week it is just so much fun. We have students who only open up to us during the program, and it's a wonderful feeling being able to relate and provide support for students in their growth and development. With help from the Board of Education, we hope to extend the program to Edison High next year. I would also like to remind the board of our April 6, 2019 date, which will be our end of the year scholarship and awards luncheon. We'll be honoring the members of the board, the students of the Lena Harris Foundation Mentorship Program, and lastly, we will be giving out 4 scholarships to high school seniors. We would love if all of you guys were able to attend. The event will be held at the YMCA JCC in Edison, New Jersey from 2 to 4 p.m. I will also send out a reminder confirmation email probably later on this week just to kind of remind you guys and just see if you guys were able to attend. And you guys have all like reserved seating if you guys come. Just come. I would also like to commend the young man who previously spoke. I'm not sure if he's still here, but he did a wonderful job of articulating what the educational system is like for a high school student here in the Edison school system. I am also a graduate from J.P. Stevens High School and would also like to extend the invite to all other students from Edison High and or JP to come and speak to the board about how awesome our district is. Thank you all so much.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay.
Anthony Diamond, 15 Rodack Circle. I brought with me today just a few articles. I'm sure you guys all are aware of it, regarding state funding cuts to really over 200 districts. I know Edison's been on the positive end lately on receiving state funding, and that's terrific. Nobody's going to argue against that. But when you put it into bigger context, it tells me at least a much bleaker picture, and that is the state is dead broke. And what we need to do is we really need to cut any fraud, waste, and abuse, not just use it as a slogan. I know we all like to use it, but really cut it out. And I'm not saying that there is any.
That was my slogan.
I know it is. I know it is, Mr. Shea. But we really need to cut it because, you know, it's in these articles, you actually have teacher layoffs going on all around the state.
What is it?
Teacher layoffs.
Oh, okay.
And I would hate for that to happen here in Edison. And I just want to protect ourselves going forward to make sure that we put ourselves in a position to not rely and take for granted the state funding, because I guarantee you it's 200 schools this year. Next year it'll be 220, and so on and so forth. So I think we need to take care of our own financial work as a team and really take care of our own business. I just wanted to bring that up real quick. I have one question too regarding the mayor's overcrowded new committee. Do we have any updates on this? Has anybody been appointed to this committee? Has it started? Any news, any updates?
So yeah, I had a meeting, one-on-one meeting with the mayor to talk about what he touched in the state of the township address. So we're gonna have a separate committee to talk with his council on how we can collaborate better in this year than last year.
Okay.
You know, as far as the funding goes, the state aid, you know, Edison has been for $27 million then, is that correct? $23 million. So even with the money we got, we're still 16 million short.
Right.
Okay? So the other districts that got cut, those have been paid way more than what their fair share. So yeah, so it's a good thing for us, but we're still 16 million short. As far as to be more responsible to the budget, yes, you know, Dan is very good at this. And next month, if you come here, you will hear we have operational audit, which is audit the processes that we have, some of the practice we have as to, the purchases and how, some of the procedures we will enhance to make sure that we get the best deal, from our vendors. We have switched vendors, as you know, the insurance example, and the special ed, because if you look at the special education committee report, we have 2 vendors. We used to have 1. competition is always good, right?
Absolutely, capitalism.
Yes, yes. Right, so we're all looking into this. So, you know, we treat the money as our own money. You know, we'll try to do better.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Shea.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, my name is Rakhi Khanna. I live on 12 Tingley in Edison, New Jersey. I'm a parent of
closer.
I'm a parent of 2 Edison kids, one in senior and one in 8th grader. I'm not very prepared to talk, but there's something that touched me yesterday and I wanted to bring to the district. I was yesterday at an event called Yes for Schools. It's a youth empowerment seminar where they deal with kids on teaching them basic values, human values, teaching them how to manage their stress through breathing techniques, yoga postures, enforcing positive values, core discipline. And what I learned was that the program has been a great success, and they've implemented this in Newark schools where the kids have gone from almost failing to more than 50% of the school being either A's or B's in honor roll. And we all know how Newark School District is. I mean, and though our school district is great in terms of academic achievement, high achieving students, but being a parent, I've seen the stress that our kids go through. And this is a great program if we implement in our schools to reduce the stress level, to manage the socio and other pressures that the kids face on day-to-day basis, and it will be included more as a part of the curriculum. I just want to read out a little bit from here. I have some flyers, and I can give out to the board to have a thought about it. Yes, school students are given a clear alternative to all destructive behaviors and are given tools that allow them to greater autonomy through self-regulation. When given a choice, they choose peace, calm, and compassion over violence and acting out. No one can make the stress disappear, but Yes for Schools helps young people gain self-restraint and personal responsibility, self-confidence, empathy, compassion, and higher academic achievement results. All over America, young people are discovering alternatives to violence, self-harm, and other negative behaviors through youth empowerment seminar. Yes, teachers emotional self-regulation through rhythmic techniques, yoga-style stretching, and fun, challenging lessons in compassion, personal responsibility, and collaboration. We support empowered communities through empowered individuals. So the program has been on since 2009. 80,000 students have benefited in 170 schools. It's a nonprofit organization. My kids themselves have gone through this course, the program, at an individual level, and they practice the breathing techniques at home. And I have a senior, so I've seen how it has helped him go through high school and manage his stress levels. And I would recommend this to all of our students. In some way, we could bring this into our schools and help our schools do better, not just academically, but at all levels.
Okay, thank you. Does the program have, in there, reducing the number of APs that your kids are going to take?
Well, that you guys are deciding, right?
That should be the number one, all right? Okay, thank you.
That's not going to change in the school district.
No, it won't change. It will start from the parents. All right, anybody else? Okay.
The aforementioned Bill Brunner, 215 Loring Avenue. You've heard tonight from several of the Lindenau teachers, and they said they're doing the best they can. They're doing a wonderful job. But you've also heard that almost half the staff are rookies, first or second year teachers. You got a rookie principal again. Yet the school, despite all the staff's efforts, is one of the lowest ranked schools. It is the lowest ranked school in this Edison, and way below the state average and everything else. So, who's to blame? Nobody's necessarily to blame, although some of the teachers have indicated that the student body comes from disadvantaged homes.
It's all the school board to blame. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, it was you, Jerry.
Yes.
Didn't recognize the interruption.
All right, sorry.
So that's true. I live in the area, have for 50 some odd years. It's changed. But somehow the staff has to get to those parents to encourage them that education is very important. That being said, what exactly are you, the school board, going to do to improve the situation at Lindenau? I've also heard from some of the teachers that they're not getting the cooperation or the staffing of specialized people to help them with the situation in Lindenau. So what exactly are you people planning on doing?
Well, we heard some suggestions, right? So, you know, I wrote it down. And also, you have to start by finding out where the issue is. So I think there was a suggestion about some of the administrative staff go pay a visit to the Lindenau and hear the feedback from the staff over there. I think that's a good start. I don't like you keep calling them rookies and coming from the street. I know in that school, the principal puts a lot of programs for parents. I know that's a fact. So can we do better? Absolutely. But you know, we'll continue to improve it. And again, the teachers, they're rookie. Doesn't mean they're no good. And as one of the teachers said, the average of the teaching age of the school is equivalent to, was that Woodbrook? Woodbrook, yeah. Yes. So, you know, you have more seasoned staff, mentor the junior staff. That's what's happening a lot of the places. We're not using the demographic data as excuse, but we're definitely going to continue to look into this. We're going to put a lot of effort into it to amend it, yes.
One statistic that caught my ear as well, I think you said there were 30% special education students in the school. My question would be, with ELC literally down the block from Lindenau, why aren't more of those children going into early intervention in our preschool buildings? And of course, with the addition of the new preschool building that we're building and the extra classrooms, I would certainly hope that of that over 250 new kids we'll have next year, a lot of them will be the 3- and 4-year-olds who will then go to Lindenau, so they will get the early intervention, and I think that would fix a lot of it or help a lot. So that would be the first place I would go.
Yes. Yeah, you
so
want to make a comment?
one of the things that I looked at recently was the referendum plan that we're thinking about, and we don't have anything in place right now in terms of full-day kindergarten. But I really think we need to seriously, consider adding it. I know there's an issue with the space, but if in the next 2 to 3 years, if we can add that, I think full-day kindergarten will really help with some of the discrepancy we have between some of our North End versus South End schools, especially a school like Lindenau, because they need, if they get in there a little earlier, maybe it could really help them, at 5 years old versus coming in in the first grade for the first time, seeing some of this material and being with their peers. I think something like full-day kindergarten, the referendum would help.
Yeah, full-day kindergarten has been the plan, since day one. So when we put out the referendum, that's aiming for full-day kindergarten for the entire school district.
We got to put
but
it in there.
Too bad we can't get it tomorrow. But we'll work on it. Yes.
I was going to say that that data came out just in the paper the other day. That data was, I guess, built upon the year prior. We did recognize that Lindenau has had issues there. We have a new principal that's there, so we're going to see how he gauges himself over this following year. So his data and all that won't come in until next year. But I even had a conversation with Mr. Saxon, he's not here today, about some of the staffing at that school, because some of the classes we have could probably use some additional staff. That was probably about a month ago, and I think he was about to look into it. I don't know the outcome of that yet, but all of this we were looking into before we even got the data, because that school was lagging before this year. You know what I mean? It has went down significantly.
It's actually been lagging for a number of years.
Yes.
And the demographics of the area has had a major effect, whether you want to admit it or not. But talk is cheap. And right now, that school needs some immediate help. So if the teaching staff behind me can come up with solid suggestions on additional help that they need, maybe you can start implementing that this year. Not wait till next year, but let's give them some help this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, oh yeah.
I would just like to...
Michael.
Elizabeth Conway, 20 Netherwood Circle. The thing that concerns me the most, I would love to put full-day kindergarten back where it's needed, but right now we are at the space constraints. The thing that really upsets me is we don't have the appropriate staff in place now, and that's something we need to look into. If we need additional support, we can give them additional support where needed, but from what I'm hearing tonight, it's not additional support that we need the initial support that they should have been getting all along. So I think that's something that we need to immediately look at and see, why is this not taking place, knowing that this particular school needs extra help? Why aren't they getting what they deserve to begin with?
Okay, thank you. Yes, Sue.
Susan Campione, 2 Ethel Road. Just two quick things. One, I was the one that said about the staff changing. I never said that they were rookies. I said that the staff changed. Many of those teachers are seasoned teachers that were there. But the other reason I came back down was because I was here Saturday night for the last production of Chicago, and I wanted to acknowledge and congratulate Darlene Rich. It was her last production here, and if you see all the posters up and down the walls, she was the director of, I believe it was 36 shows here over her years, and my daughter had the privilege of working with her for 4 of the years, and she has nurtured so many students and taught them a love of theater, and going to be very difficult to replace at JP, and I just wanted to acknowledge that it was her last performance, and some of the alumni were here, and the kids just love her, and so I wanted to just acknowledge that it was her last show. Thank you.
Thank you. I saw a hand. Yes, Jeff.
Joe. Oh, Jeff. Joey.
Jeff, the first time. Let him go first.
Good evening. Jeff Bowden, 2 Ethel Road, Edison. I just wanted to point out on page 9 of 11, under the personnel section,
Personnel? Yeah.
and they did speak to you, Dan, via email a couple weeks ago. The paraprofessional should be $25 per hour. That went up in the this year of the contract for the ESY.
Number 9.
Page 9 of 11.
What was the amount again?
Should be 25.
So it's 35. Did I just give them an increase?
Yeah. Okay.
What was it listed as?
20.
20.
20.
Got it.
Okay, thanks. Secondly, I look forward to tomorrow's meeting regarding Cigna with all the presidents at the board office. Hopefully we can resolve some issues there. And lastly, the Lindenau situation, I know how hard the staff works across the entire district. especially Lindenau. There's a lot of pride there. Okay, I really would suggest that administration do make some trips to that building. But I do have to reflect on when the principal of Lindenau was transferred last year, that we would allow a 40% change in staffing with no one in place. I just don't understand that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Joey. Andy, you're too slow.
Joseph Johnson, 407 Durham Avenue. I'm not particular sure, like I don't have a lot of information about what's going on with the Lindenau school. And I heard the statistic that I believe 51% of the school has a reduced free lunch. And I just want to comment real quick, and I think students respond better to people that look like them, talk like them, act like them, and dress like them. And that might not be the case at Lindenau, but I just wanted to come and comment on that. And I think we do not have a lot of minority men and women, teachers, supervisors, administration in the Edison Board of Education. And I think if we kind of start focusing on that, and I know it might be difficult, and a lot of minorities do not put in the positions and applications, but if you can maybe do a quick, get the word out to different, maybe different other Board of Educations and different other boards, and maybe some principals or supervisors from other districts that can come into and kind of relate to the students, I think that would definitely be beneficial.
That's a good point. That's, sorry. Yeah, you done?
Oh, well, I think Mr.
Yeah,
Kenny.
I just want to say that when we were interviewing for the principal's position there, one of the reasons that we were so struck with Mr. Rojas was because he could speak the language and could converse with the parents there in their language that was familiar to them, and we were so excited about that. And I do want to say that I nearly cried because I was so moved by him in his meeting, and he told us, you know, about his background and how he was the first in his family to go to college and to achieve. And I knew that when he left the meeting with us, that he was going to get very emotional. It was quite something to be a part of that. And so I think he's the right person there. Yeah.
Awesome. Mr. Shi, would you?
Yeah, I just wanted to echo that, what Mrs. Maroney said. He was just like them. Mm-hmm. So for him to be there as a principal for these kids, that's your role model there. Okay, so, we want to see him stay there even longer, try to keep him, because, the other benefits and stuff, but the other, he can relate to the same background.
Exactly.
So he's right there.
And I think we're doing a great job, but I think if we could just do a little bit better, I think that would be awesome. Thank you guys so much.
You. Yes, Andy.
Andrew Heibel, Howard Avenue, Edison. Question, what's the status with going out for bid for a new insurance company?
We're waiting for the data.
Okay, so we were told back in February that we're going to go out for bid, that our next board meeting is in 3 weeks from today, which is April 15th, and normally at the April meeting, Dan has in the agenda the rates for the following year, and we were told back in February that we weren't going to be in the situation we were in last year, where we had a special meeting in May, and everything was pretty much jammed down everybody's throat and was done in a rush. So I was just wondering if, back in February, we were told we were going to go out for bid, how much more data do we need to know that we need to change companies?
We need a March date. We need the February date, I'm sorry. The run-loss date in February.
So are we going to be going out for bid? Is that
absolutely
sooner than later?
Once the data is in.
When's the data going to be in?
I don't know. I don't have the answer, but.
That's really not acceptable. We're going to be in the same predicament we were in last year when we were
not.
blindsided.
We're not. It's different.
So far, we're on the same path, so we can agree to disagree, but we'll see what tomorrow's meeting brings. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? See none?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, second? Second, okay. Mrs. Patel, all in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Are you
Thank you.
still going to this tomorrow?